Alright, what's up guys, Zero here, and today we will be finally taking a look at the first deck, first at 12 that I'll be covering, and the first one we're going to take a look at is the Blasters. So this is finally a new G archetype in for Royals that isn't Alt Mile. It is Blasters. Blasters, obviously for namesake, focusing on Blaster Blade. He is still like the centerpiece of the deck, and yeah, we'll take a look at the deck. So without further ado, here's the deck list. You can see some very familiar faces. Obviously, Blaster Blade is in the deck. He is, again, still the centerpiece of the deck. So, obviously, he'll swing here, but we'll go from top to bottom as per usual. So, we'll start off with the starter. So, my starter of choice is Wingle Brave. This dog was a menace to the game back when MLB was the best deck. It got nerfed and it got unnerfed. So, it went back to its original skill that it had in Zero, which is when the attack that it boosted, a blaster hits, you can hit anything, doesn't have to be Van, you can hit rear, you can boost this and hit rear with something. You can CB1, put it to Soul Searcher deck for any blaster and add it to hand. So before, mainly obviously for MLB you're adding like MLB, Blaster Blade, Blaster Dark, whatever. With this deck now you have many options to add. So obviously, like with MLB, you could add your main ride, which in this case would be Blaster Blade Exceed. You can add Blaster Blade, you can add Spirit if you wanted to, but I think the nice thing you can add now with this deck are two of your great ones, which will go over right now. First off is the Blaster Rapier Laura, so she has Resist and a second skill that is irrelevant because we're not playing Tian Knight's Alpha in this deck. We play her because she has Blaster Name, because this deck does want to ride a Grade 1 Blaster, and because she has Blaster Name, she's also searchable off of the starter, so in my opinion, this is the best one of. I've seen some other lists play like the Mayor as one of, which I think Mayor calls a card for a CV. But I personally think that having that one extra grade 1 that has Blaster Name to ride is very important. And the reason why riding a grade 1 Blaster is so important, because we need 2 blasters, grade 1 blasters in Soul for the Religious Soul Saver to get a crit. And this deck doesn't have any innate ways to put blasters from like board or hand to Soul. So with the blaster, having one extra ride that has Blaster Name is very important in my opinion. So yeah. That's why you play the one Laura, and the other card that has Blaster Name is the Blaster Friend Barkle. So its skill is when a Blaster Blade, so specifically Blaster Blade, so only this one, only the original one. Exceed does not count, Spirit does not count. When specifically Blaster Blade is placed into the same column as this unit, if your Vanguard is a Blaster, CC1. So this is the deck's Balin, the deck's Dorant. For all the old school players who played back in when the Liberator, then Ripfinger is actually good. This is your Balin, this is your Dorant, so this deck finds CC now, so very good. And because that's Blaster Name, it is searchable off of the Wingle Brave, so very good there. Next up, the other great one we play is the Wingle Youth. So its skill is at the end of battle that this unit boosted or attacked hits a Van. You can check top 7 and add any card from among them with Blaster Blade in its name and add to your hand. So unlike the Barkle, this can add anything with Blaster Blade name. So it can add original Blaster Blade, it can add Spirit, it can add Exceed, and then if you added something, it goes into Soul. So if you check if you hit, you check top 7. If you find something, you can choose to add up to 1 from among them, and if you add it, it goes to Soul. So that's good too. And the additional buff that I got in Zero is that if you're paying the cost to stride a Saver stride, it counts as a stride fodder, so that's plus two grades. So your Saver strides are Religious Soul Saver, Alfred Holy Saver, and Ganslot Peace Saver. So all 3 of these, if you're trying to either one of these 3 cards, the Wingle Youth is counted as stride fodder. Otherwise, it is just a generic grade 1 in hand. If, for example, you wanted to stride into, let's say, Luminous Hope, you cannot use Wingle Youth to pay the full stride cost. So there's that. So this card is a consistency tool. It's a card you can use to act early, but late game, if you draw into it, it is also stride fodder for the strides you are mainly going into. So very good there. And finally, the PG we're playing actually has a relevant effect too. So we are playing the Leon PG. So important thing to note here is that the PG effect, so the actual effect where you use the PG as a guard in hand, only works if you are on a grade 3 a Blaster or Alfred Van. So if you, for whatever reason, you have this in hand and you just got your ass rushed down on 2 and died from 2 for whatever reason, and you had this PG in hand, technically it would not save you. If you ride Ganslot for whatever reason, the PG will not save you, but this deck is so consistent at finding the Exceed ride, that should never be an issue. I guess the only scenario where this PG having somewhat demerit here is that if you just die on 2 for whatever reason. So yeah, there's that, I guess. But realistically, you should never be great stuck in this deck. Only time this will ever come out is if you just get like crit turn 1, crit turn 2, and you just die. So yeah, so there's that. But realistically, that should never come up. But the reason we play is because it has a really good second effect. So when you use this card's PG effect, so when you actually PG with it, at the start of your turn, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw 1. Unlike some of the other PGs, you do not need another copy of itself in the drop to use its effect. You don't need to discard or anything like that. It just, if you PG with this, you can Soul Blast 1 and draw in the next turn to replace it, or replace this card that was used PG, that you used PG. So this PG is a straight up +1, which I think is really, really good. Obviously, sometimes later into the game state, you don't want to draw too many cards because you might be scared of deck out, but I think having a PG that can replace itself is very, very good. So that's why you should play this. If you don't want to play this, you can just play a CCPG. I think that's fine too, but in my opinion, I think this Leon PG is definitely worth playing in the deck. So yeah, so that's it for grade 1. Grade 2s, obviously we have 4 Blaster Blades. Van Rear on play CB2, pop up grade 2 or higher. Blaster Blade, not going to go too much about it. Blaster Blade Spirit, when called from deck, CB1, pop up grade 2 or higher, and then when it gets hit into it, just dies. So the reason we play Spirit, realistically speaking, there's not a whole lot of things that actually call Spirit out of deck to get the retire off. There's the Aerial that you can go into, the Star Hope Trumpeter, whose skill is on play from hand, the GB1 if your Vanguard's a Blaster or Alfred. You can CB1 to call anything from deck and give it +3, so she can call it. But the main reason we play this is mainly because it is an extra Blaster grade 2 that you can ride into. And it has a relevant second effect, and it is a 10k body when you ride it. So because of this, I played 3 Spirits. You can if you don't value that extra Blaster name to ride into because you think you can always draw the Blaster Blade, you can definitely not play this or cut down on this. But I think getting the 2 Blasters and Soul for Religious Soul Saver is very, very important. So that is why I personally choose to play 3 Spirits. I went over the 2 Star Hopes already. And lastly, we are playing for this Liu. So his skill is on play anywhere. You can put a grade 2 with Blaster Blade and name from drop back to the bottom of your deck. So this is going to cycle Blaster Blade or Spirit. For the most part, it's always Spirit, or not Spirit, the original Blaster Blade. And then and the other skill is when it is boosted by Blaster Friend Barkle. So this dog, or it is boosted by Flogel. So specifically this crit here that we were playing. I think when at the end of battle that boosted by one of those 2 and attacked a Van, you can CB1 put itself into Soul to call a grade 2 Blaster from your deck and give it +3k. So this is a multi-attack enabler. If your opponent's at 5, it turns whatever you call into a Soul attacker. So even though you boosted already and you overcall the same slot, you can still hit with the thing at opponent's 5. So pretty good there. You have ways to let the Blaster from 4 as well. But yeah, this card is a card that lets you recycle Blaster, which is really nice. And late into the game, it is also a extender for an extra check. So very, very nice. Definitely a card I would recommend playing at least 3 of. You can play around the ratios of everything back here, in my opinion, but the Blaster Blades. But I personally just value the Liu the most after the Blaster Blades, so that's why the ratios are like this for me. So yeah, so that's it for grade 2s. And for triggers, heal guards are heal guards. Here's the Flogel. So the Flogel's skill is at the end of the battle that your Blaster Blade. So this can be any Blaster. It can be Spirit, Exceed, or the original Blaster Blade. At the end of the battle that your Blaster Blade attacked a Van, you can CB1, put it back into the deck, and stand that Blaster Blade. So this gives a CB1, gives you an attack extension. So resets Blaster Blade really nice there. So this card's really good for that reason, gives you an extra attack. And then it's even better in the fact that it has the damage zone skill, where if you damage check it, you draw 1. So when you drive check, it's a crit. When you damage check, it's a draw. So yeah, even though the fact that it's still grade 0 really sucks. But so that's why I only play 2 of it. But and in fact, I don't really like the fact that it is a crit. But like I think the actual text on the card, so the actual skill on the card, is good enough that I personally will play this card despite it having a few downsides, being a 0 and being a crit. So yeah, I do think the skill is very good. So that's why there's 2 of it in the deck. Good old Gancelot, put itself back to Search Blaster Blade, 3 of it. So yeah, the other card that I've seen people play in this slot is the grade 3 Liu, which is whose skill is on play you can recycle a grade 2 and a grade 3 blaster, put back to bottom of the deck, and then it's a grade 3 with intercept. I think the card is fine, but in my opinion, I think Ganslot's is better because for the most part they both represent the same thing. They are both a grade 3 that can become an intercept, but I think Ganslot's a little more flexible because Ganslot can become a grade 2 by turn 2. It's 3 extra copies of Blaster Blade in your deck, so you have a higher chance to see the Blaster grade 2 ride, and mainly because of those reasons. I think Lu's a fine card, but I personally think Ganslot is just better. I don't see a reason to play Lu over the Ganslot unless you really want to recycle for whatever reason. So that's personally why I play Ganslot over the Lu. And finally, the main ride of the deck is the Blaster Blade Exceed. Vanguard Rear on play, your Vanguard's a Blaster or Alfred. CB1, choose on your opponent's grade 1 or higher rears and pop it. So CB1 retire. Works on rear as well, which is really nice there. And then when you stride a Saber G unit, CB1 and choose a card with Blaster Blade from drop and put it back to your deck. And then you can search your deck for any 1-card Blaster Blade in name and add it to your hand. So recycle and add. Very, very good. You can add the Blaster Blade you want for the given situation. Usually it is another copy of itself to ensure stride fodder, because a lot of the times, even though Wingo Youth is stride fodder, you're putting out a lot just as an early attacker on like turn 1. And obviously if you need a Blaster Blade, you can search that instead. But for the most part, this deck is usually using it to grab another Exceed to search a stride fodder. So yeah, and then on ride plus 3k. So yeah, so that's it for the main deck. G unit, the G units. Harmonics for harmonics reasons. Religious Soul Saver. Once per turn, if your heart is a blaster, G flip and give 3 units plus 5. If your 2 or more blasters in soul, give it a crit. So that's why the 2 blasters in soul matter so much. If I don't have 2 blasters in soul, I don't think I'd ever go into this, realistically speaking, unless you just forget about that part about the skill that you need 2 blasters in soul. So yeah. Very, very important that you get the 2 blaster rides, and so in the games where you don't get the 2 blaster rides, you basically just don't go into this. That's why it's only a 2 of. If this card always got the crit, it would probably be a 4 in the G zone, but because of the fact that it only gets the crit if you have 2 blasters in soul, it is just a 2 of for me personally. 2 aerials, front row gets plus 3 GB2 on play. G flip, call a grade 2 from your deck and give it plus 5. This card just tutor a spirit, tutor a blaster blade. Buff front row, pretty good. I don't think I've ever actually gone into the aerial, but I can see scenarios where I might actually want to go into it. 2 Luminous Hope, so Brave, basically Brave on attack, call grade 2 from deck. This is, even though this is not a Saber stride, this is still your main finisher in the deck, because these other strides don't really like push for game that well. Luminous Hope is a generic card that you can go into that actually lets you get an extra attack in. So because of that, 2 Lumi. This Lumi is basically just here. You only ever go into this card to end the game. Rarely ever will you go into this card before that. If you feel like you have to end the game on that turn, or you feel like Luminous has game, that's when you go into it. Otherwise, you'd probably go into something else. But yeah, so that's why we only have 2 of it. And as for new strides, we have 2 of the Alfred Holy Saver. GB2 once per turn. If your heart is a blaster or Alfred, G flip and discard 1 card and choose one of your blaster cards with blaster blade names. So this can actually be any of them. And then for the turn, that blaster blade performs Twin Drive on its first attack. So performs Twin Drive and gets the following 2 effects. It gets the following effect: when it attacks, draw 2. And then the second part is just a reminder text saying that if you flip a crit off of those drive checks, the crit goes to the blaster blade. So yeah. And then GB3, all your units cards of Blaster Blade and they get plus 5, so it's actually important to turn the Blaster Blade into a solo attacker. So yeah, card's pretty cool. It's a ditch 1, draw 2, and it gives your Blaster Blade Twin Drive, which is pretty nice because Twin Drive means more chances to check triggers. Triggers are always good in this game, so yeah. Only 2 of it because realistically, this skill will deck you out if you use it too much, because it does draw 2, and this deck does go through its deck very fast. You're searching a lot. But this skill is pretty good. 5 drive checks, draw 2, cycle your hand, pretty nice. And finally, we're playing 3 of the Ganslot Peace Saver. So in the gameplay we're about to see, I only had 2. I pulled this one literally today, the third one literally today. This is the G zone I would play optimally. I think in the video I was playing some random double grade 2 with skills like on stride, CB, and Call Blaster. Will the third Ganslot ever come up? Maybe. I don't think I've ever had a game where I wish I had 3 yet. but optimally I do think you have 3. But the third one is not something I chase to finish this deck. I think 2 of each of the new GRs is fine. But Ganslot's actual skill is when attacks, if you have a Blaster or Alfred Heart, CC 1, draw 1, it gets Drive +1, and then if you have, I think another copy of Self-Face up in the G Zone, it gets a crit. So on first stride, it gets everything here but the crit, and then the other skill is that when it goes back to the G Zone at the end of turn, give one of your units with Blaster Blade a name resistant to your opponent's turn. So this is how they decided to change this in 0. I wish this effect was like for every face-up copy of Gans you have in your G Zone, give it a Blaster Blade resist. That would have been a little better in my opinion, but still giving a Blaster Blade resist is still pretty nice in matchups where it matters. So yeah, this is usually your first try if you don't have to crit Religious Soul Saver. Otherwise, you probably go in Religious Soul Saver just to crit them. But sometimes you just want to CC, you want extra draw instead. So yeah, Ganslot's a very good first try. Sometimes a good second try as well. So it's always good to have a third one if you want it. I think 2 is definitely required though. So yeah, so that's it for the deck profile, and I will see you guys with some games in right after this. So for now, peace out. So for the very first game, we are playing against Shiranui. So this is a new Tama. This deck also came with this set, and I want my just a quick impression. I think this deck's pretty solid. Does pretty cool thing, but we're here for Blasters obviously, and just a general brief idea of what Blaster do. This Blaster is just a very aggressive aggro deck. The deck has many pieces to just push damage super early, and I think that is what shines with the deck the most. It is a very aggressive deck that plays such as hits face, very strong early against a lot of resources aren't tied behind GB, and I think that is the main strength of the deck. So yeah, I'm just full screen. Oh no! All right, there you go. Oh. Yeah, so you can see here, I'm just playing super aggressively. Wingle Youth, if I go second, Wingle Youth is basically a card I'll always slam down onto the rear to swing with. No fear of it being wasted or anything, because if it hits, it searches. If it whiffs, it's on the board, and it's something your opponent needs to think about killing. So yeah, and here he whiffs a heal. I also whip a heal, so evens out. I do 2 damage. Obviously, this just wants to hit for early damage, so very nice there. And with a hand like this, I have a bunch of great 2s, so I can slam them down early. But what I don't have here is Stride Fodder, but Wingle Brave can easily fix that, because Wingle Brave, even if you already have this, what's his face, the Blaster Blade Exceed in hand, you can just search another one of Stride Fodder. So that's really good there. And the opponent also tries to aggro me back here. I think here, for the most part, what I've learned to doing a Shiranui is that early game, you just slam down all your intercepts, because the deck struggles to mitigate damage, to push the damage early. And here, if you notice, it looks like the colors are not scaling, but the Liu is actually scaling 19 on the left, because the skill where Liu gets the extension and the power off of being boosted at Barkle is not tied behind GB. So here, these columns are actually 9, 14, 19, so it is scaling to some degree. So with, I think I'm going to check the defensive here. That really sucked. So the Liu just goes to the rear. But the Wingle does search me the tripod that I need for the next turn. As you can see there in the search menu, you can search like a variety of things. Like I said earlier in the deck profile, you can search the things as well. The what's his face? What's that card called? The Barkle, which is really good, because searchable CC is very nice. Searchable CC, searchable booster. As you can see here, yeah, Shiranui is a deck that cannot like push super early. It wants to just, it is another deck that just wants to kill you by second stride. So force slamming intercepts down early, even if they don't do anything, I think is really good against the deck, because of the fact that the only way they can push that extra early damage is with the bear. And if they're using the bear like that, that means they are giving you they're giving you the card back, which is also fine. So yeah. So here I just go for Ganslot first stride. I think I did actually have the 2 blasters in Soul here, but as you can see, I don't have the most CB. I don't have the most biggest hand either. So I think I did this because I wanted to get some resources back for the next turn. So here, see, you want to put the Exceed back and search the Exceed again as Stride Fodder. This is a play you make a lot in this deck, just to ensure Stride Fodder. I do the Wingle Youth here, but realistically speaking, if I want them dead on the next turn, I would be Shining Luminous Hope, and I would need Strike Fighter for that. So yeah. So here, nothing too particularly special here. This is just a very standard turn. He's already at 4, so this is actually just already asking for a guard check. Here, and I see the Wingull Youth here. You can search a card. I just search the Spirit because I'd rather keep the trigger in my deck. Goes to Soul, and then the Exceed swings. We'll CC and give Last Play resist at the end of the turn. So CC, draw 1, and then 4 drive checks. So that's 1. 1 more, and he'll for a PG now. 2, 3. There is the second trigger. This pushes for PG now. And opponent dies. I'm pretty sure he's 6 sealed here. So yeah, but even though he's 6 sealed, I'm in a still in a relatively good spot because I'm at 3. This deck, for the most part, will only check you once from 3. They have to high roll pretty hard check you for a second time, or they'd have to have a bunch of scalers. So I'm not completely safe here. If they go into Magen Tengu and manage to I just have like double grade with boosters that scale or something like that. So I think here I was fine. But I think he strided into the double rare stride. Yeah. This is like the poor man's version of the of Magen Tenbu, the GR, and because he went to this, I instantly realized I was safe. I was not in danger of dying to this anymore. So yeah, or for the probably not dying to this for the most part, because with this, unlike I'm fine because unlike the GR, the thing that it dominates does not get retired like with Magen Tenbu. So. Here, this is a maximum of 1 check, and that is perfectly fine. Here, because I have the 1 guard I need in my hand, and here I guess you'll also get to see the Leon actually use its effect to see Soul Blast 1 to draw 1 after being used as PG, so that's very nice. So here, I'll just get pushed to 5 and get guard checked here, which is fine. Get a draw, very nice. Oh, I actually don't remember if my opponent hit a 1 pass here or not. The Saga Showcase RPG, but I would assume they did. I guess not. So I guess double defensive shut down the 1 check, but yeah, if hypothetically if I didn't hit double defensive or my opponent hit the 1 trigger they needed, I would not have that Leon would have let me draw an extra card at the start of my turn. And as you can see here, I would have 6 sealed too if I would have 6 sealed if I if I did get checked twice here for whatever reason. And here I just decide what I want to go into, and I'm seeing as he did not have any guards in hand last turn, I go for a Luminous Hope to make sure he dies here. I have many ways to retire. I already have 1 attack extension in my hand, and I drew another attack extender with the Flogel, so very nice there. I think here I do have to just force myself into Brave though, because too many cards in my hand. That is like the one like quote unquote downside to the Liu, or to the Luminous Hope. Sorry. So here, Trumpeter CB1 to pop the Intercept, and then here I think I ended up overcalling a few cards just to hit the Brave requirement. So I think I overcalled the Star Hope with the Liu because he's an attack extender, ending your Cycle Blaster Blade, and then I just ended up overcalling a Barkle just to hit the 3 last card to hit for Brave requirement. So start battle phase, flip, and then I get the attack to be able to actually extend now with the Luminous Hope. So Blaster Blade in. Unboosted, Liu will proc its skill, so it gets the power, so now it can CB1 put itself into Soul to call Blaster Blade from my deck. And here, I actually don't know why they call the original Blaster Blade, I kept CC'd here. But I call this the Swings. He does die here, but just a brief rundown on what would have happened if he had the guard needed. This swings, and then it was actually a misplay. I actually should have called the original blasters to CC one, but what could have happened here if he had more guards in hand? Let's just assume this was a regular blaster blade and actually called the right card draw for this. Spirit swing or blaster blade swing, he gets guard checked. The Flogel would now proc asking if you want to use the skill. You use the skill to restand this Blaster Blade, and since the Liu made a solo attacker, it is still hitting solo, so swing again, that's an extra check. And then Luminous Hope would swing, and then with Luminous Hope, you'd call another Liu from the deck. I think assuming you had another one, you call Liu to the other side where the Barkle is still standing, and since you still have 1 open CB, because assuming you called the right card here, I called the right card here, yeah, I would have 1 open CB. I call a Liu. Van hit, Van would check a PG out of hand. the left column with the Liu now boost, that's another check, and then at the end of that battle, Liu would proc its skill, put itself in a soul, and I call another blast play, get an extra check like that. So let's just say I actually called the right card here. This would have been an extra 1, 2, 3, an extra 4 checks. So pretty strong kill turn from 5, I would say, if you have the pieces here and the open CV for it. So yeah. So that's it for game 1, and then now let's go on to game 2. So for the next game, for game 2, you see golds here, but this was actually Hololive. So for all you people who want to see Hololive content, here it is. I am not doing Necropop for that deck. If you want my opinion of which clan I think it goes best in, I think it is Kagero or Gold. So there's your 2 seconds of Hololive content. So here, their opponent's playing Hololive and Gold, which is cool, I guess. And here you can see, I don't actually have a blaster for grade 1 ride. I'm not sure if I'm doing it or not. Yeah, so no grade 1 blaster ride, so this basically turns off Religious Soul Saver's crit, which really sucks. And no extra grade 1 to aggro with as well. Here, I think I held the Gans line hand in case I want Stride Fodder. I don't want to search with the Wingle Brave, so yeah. So unfortunately, no like super aggressive early push here, which really sucks. This deck does want to aggro super early, but they hit defensive aims, so it doesn't even matter. And also, your scaling of tanky base definitely sucks because you make like 14 columns, not 15, so that sucks there. Lose the Barkle, and then yeah, so I get pushed for 2 here. Which, it's like whatever, I guess, early. Draw another PG was pretty cool. Ride the Blaster Blade, so I'm getting 1 Blaster and Soul, and it's still whatchamacallit, it's still a Blaster name for the Wingle to actually search something here. So I put the crit down because I was going to send out at some point anyways, but if I see a trigger I can hit face, if not I just kill a grade 1. So that's why I just choose a Slam and calling it didn't scale properly. Search the Barkle here because I don't really need anything else. I already have Stride Fodder, and getting that 1 CC is really important. I mean the 1 Barkle stay on the board, so that's why I search for the Barkle here. That being said, with the Flogel usually the card you slam behind Bang because it doesn't really make columns on the rear with anything that isn't what's his name, the oh my, I'm blanking right now, the Liu. So yeah, I know because you make it awkward columns like that. This man also just kind of left his face open for me to hit, which is really nice. Not a single intercept. I did heal down, so I'm not just going to 4, really nice. All my losing damage really sucks. But here, I think I'd assume I just went for, I probably just went for a Gans slot here. I think, I guess I should choose to save CB, which is perfectly fair. I think because, unfortunately I don't have the whatchamacallit, the 2 blasters in soul for Religious Soul Saver. Otherwise I probably would just gone to that and try to push the 5 and get a guard check in while at that. So yeah, really sucks I don't have that. Well, here I drew the like seed, so nothing to put back, but I can just search the Blaster Blade here and then immediately use the Barkle to refund the CB immediately, which is really nice. And I think here, I just made a column with the 0 and the 1 and the Blaster Blade and the Barkle and called it a day. Yeah, and I think here I actually did choose to retire one of these because I was like I started thinking like well, I'm going to end up CCing one with the the Peace Saber anyway, so I might as well just use the 1 CV, refund 1. CB 1 retire is still okay. And unfortunately, with this order, I cannot play for a heal. Actually, no, I think I'll play for a heal anyways, because I chose to be really greedy. Yeah, draw 1. Yeah, see, I think I checked my deck for a heal and was like, I have 3 heals in the deck and 4 drive checks. Surely I check at least 1 trigger. So, chose to be really greedy, and it paid off because I got the heal and a draw. So, I'm guaranteed 2 damage to push the 5 here after checking the 2nd trigger, while also getting the heal down. So, very nice there. My opponent is just at 5 now. Unfortunately, I did not check enough triggers for the Blaster Blade to hit again. But that would require quite a bit of triggers, so I just saved the Flogel for later. No need to shotgun here for no reason. And give the Blaster resist even though it does not matter at all in this matchup. So, yeah. I guess my opponent already had a 3-state in Soul, so he gets a strike for free into the Me Comet. Again, if you want my opinion on this deck, I think this deck is terrible. I think I don't really see a reason why you'd want to play Hololive other than you like Hololive. I think this deck is quite bad, but it is probably the best Hachi deck in the game right now. for whatever that's worth. So opponent just does things pretty vanilla turn. He just gets to suck that 3 and call it 2 from deck, which is like cool, I guess. And there goes my third Lu, so I lose any extensions I have of that card, for the most part. And you need to lean at the scale, so I do think I'm going to 5 here. One heals. And a draw, so I'm just going to 5. Unfortunately. But I do have 5 open CB to work with, but the thing with blasters is that this deck isn't actually the best at actually like killing the opponent. For the sole fact that like you don't really have like that like super like strong pressure that Altmile has, or like even from 4 you're getting a few like 3 or 4 checks in. From 4 this deck is probably checking you like once or twice at most, which just isn't like us threatening here, right? So yeah, so here you can see I choose to go into the Alfred strike because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not killing here. I'll just use this chance to farm some resources, get some extra drive checks in, maybe check the last heal in my deck. So yeah, so here I use the Blaster Blade Exceed to put a card back and search for a card. I choose, I think I just choose to grab Exceed and then use the Gantz for the Blaster Blade. Order here realistically didn't matter. You could just search the Blaster Blade and then hold the Gantz to Tri Fodder, made no difference. So here, Blaster Blade, pop the 10k intercept. Barkle refunds. Toss the Wingle Youth as cost for the Alfred. And now since you flipped, you are GB3 now. Blaster Blade now a solo attacker. And I just overcall that because I want double intercept, obviously. So here you can see this is where the Flogel gets shown off. Because of Alfred, your Blaster Blade and any 7k booster will make 21. So 14's in solo. And now the Flogel will go back to the deck and restand the Blaster Blade. You have the 21 column on the right, and it still has not swung yet, so 21. And because of how they worded the card, you do not get to drive check twice with the Blaster Blade in one turn. There's the triggers. The Van's asking for a PG now. 2 triggers. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, I guess that was a pretty good turner showcase off both the Flogel and the Alfred. That was a pretty common play you make with this deck is whenever you go into Alfred, the Alfred Holy Saver, usually that turn is backed up by a Flogel to let a Blaster Blade attack twice. So yeah, and the Blaster Blade, even though it didn't check any triggers, it did draw me into 2 guards. It drew me into a heal and a PG. So with 5 guards in hand, I'm not exactly scared of dying to Hololive right now. So even though my opponent died, I'm still in a relatively solid spot. So here they just do their thing. This deck's pretty vanilla. This deck doesn't really do anything cool until you have like 3 face-up Ecomps in the G zone. Doesn't flip it. The card doesn't flip anything either. So just a crit, he gets like 2 checks here at most. He sucks in that, calls a grade 2, and that's like 2 checks. It looks kind of like pretty whatever. And my opponent heals down again. I think here at this point I recognize my win con is not actually killing them. Granted, this deck probably could kill over the course of 2 turns because, again, Hololive isn't very threatening. But I think here at this point I realize that my deck out, my win con here is deck out because he has 7 cards left in the deck and he's still taking a damage here. I guess here's where I get to actually show off the PG. So I actually did PG, so I get to draw an extra card here. Drew the last Lu in my deck. And I think here I actually don't know what I go into. Ganslot again, I feel like. Was what I would the current me would go into. Yeah. So let's go into Ganslot again. Not really a whole like anything like too good to go in from 4. Luminous Hope, kind of awkward from 4 when you're not Altmile. So just going to whatever else here. So CB1, probably just grab an intercept here. Put a Blaster Blade back. Just grab the Blaster Blade back to my hand. So I can CC back with the Barkle and then CC1 with the Ganslot when it attacks. Yeah, so exactly 2 CB. The Blaster from Barkle is definitely one of the biggest boons to this deck. Before, all these old like Blaster decks just didn't have a way to CC, and now you do. So Blaster Blade feels a lot less bad to use now. No need to actually search with the Wingle, so I didn't bother even trying to hit with it. 16, and then Gantz will now swing with Quad Drive, drawing me one, CCing me one in the process. Oh yeah, and he gets a crit. Not really relevant here, but he does get a crit, so yeah. I guess if anything, I could have swung Van first, because if I swung Van first, I could have guaranteed it was a PG check, but you can see here, I'm also running the risk of deck out now, because I only have 4 cards left on my deck. But unlike my opponent's deck here, I actually have ways to recycle my cards. I got the Lu. Obviously, I damage checked 3 of them. But with Blaster Blade, even though he is even though he searches, he does like put one back before you search, so you go deck neutral, and that exchange is pretty good there. So yeah, this game is definitely very close here. Mainly because my opponent just managed to heal a bunch of times. So yeah. So cool, he gets a crit again, he can extend it for 2 checks, but I do have 3 guards in hand, so I think I am fine. And I think here, my opponent lost the game because they used Me Combat skill to suck a card in, so it thins them down to 3 in deck, and I think they checked the last heal in their deck. So yeah, so here, I just win here because 3 in deck, 2, you know, they're at 4 now. I deal 1 damage and you win the game. So I'll let this play out, but I'll just end the video off here, I guess. So my closing thoughts for Blasters is that this deck is it's a very consistent deck. I think I don't think it's like anything too particularly good or anything. It's the deck is the one thing I will say is the deck is very consistent. It will almost always do its game plan every single game because of what you have in the deck. Both the starter Wingle, the Wingle Youth, and yeah, very consistent deck. Not the strongest, like relatively like low ceiling, I'd say. In that first game, what you saw with the Luminous Hope was probably the high ceiling this deck has in terms of finishing power. But yeah, overall still a very solid deck. I can definitely recommend it to players too to build. Just because of the fact that the deck is very cheap. You can basically build it out of the box assuming you have all the old stuff. Blaster Blades are free. Gantz a lot. You can just play the Liu in the slot and say you don't have those. And then the rest of the deck is pretty much just in the box. And then only other GRs you need are like Luminous. Again, I don't think Aerial is too particularly needed. All you need would be after that is like 2 Luminous, and then you just need to pull 2 of each of the new GRs, and that's it. So a very solid deck, very consistent deck, and very cheap deck too, so I can definitely recommend it. Not the best by any means, but definitely still a very solid pick. So yeah, so that's it for this video. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.